let's discuss Labirinto's album Gehenna and Perpetual Grace Limited soundtrack by the Jones Sisters. Hi, welcome to Garage Geek. Two YouTubers and myself created a triad. So we are a triumvirate, and we are reviewing 3 albums. Now, I gave both of them a symphonic album of Gurecki's Third Symphony. Guz69 gave me and Tcat a Brazilian heavy metal album that is all instrumental called Gehenna, and it's by Labirinto. And this is a Brazilian album put out in 2016. And then later in the video, I'm going to go over the album that Tcat gave for both of us, which is Perpetual Grace Limited soundtrack by the Jones Sisters. Both Tcat and Guz69 are also going to put out their versions of this, so I will link both of those videos once they are out. So I'm going to talk about Labirinto's album Gehenna first, only because that was first in my playlist. So Tcat, don't get butthurt that you're second. Labirinto's album is 10 instrumentals that are very heavy in nature. This album, to me, wasn't out of my comfort zone. Why? Because I love instrumentals, and to me, listening to any type of instrumental, for the most part, is very nice, because then I could read or I could do whatever. It is not very difficult for me to listen to instrumentals that are a little bit heavier in nature. And in fact, these instrumentals go in and out of being heavy and soft and going back to being heavy again, even within the same song. So I am going to talk about each track, but I'm not going to focus on the music, which is strange. I'm going to focus on the titles of the songs, but you will hear snippets of each song. Now, the reason I'm not going to focus on the songs is because they're all heavy that go in and out of being soft. And so for me, it's kind of difficult to describe them other than to saying, hey, there's some guitar, but that doesn't mean that they're bad. They're all distinct. They're all really good. They're all fun to listen to. And in fact, I'm going to, at the end, I'm going to read a review and talk about what I think about that review. The first song is called Mal Sacre. So Mal Sacre literally means evil sacred. And I guess it can also mean epilepsy. I'm just guessing what the names of these songs are and what they possibly mean. Because since they're instrumentals, there are no words for me to latch onto and say, oh, this song means this or that. But the titles are really interesting. So the second song is titled Enoch. Enoch is one of the antediluvian patriarchs from the Bible. So he's, I guess, one of the 10 patriarchs from the book of Genesis, and it was before Noah. He is the 7th of the 10 pre-deluge patriarchs. The third song is called Qumran. A lot of the names of these songs come from Greek, Arabic, and Hebrew sources. So Qumran is a national park in the West Bank in Israel, and it is where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. I would love to visit that place. It looks gorgeous. The fourth song is called Aung Su, and I could not find the precise meaning of this. The only thing that I could find was that I think it's a shortened form of the name Aung San Suu Kyi, which was the famous Burmese freedom fighter who was jailed for many years. Her name, Aung San Suu Kyi, means a bright collection of strange victories. So since this is only 2 of the 4 words, I'm not sure exactly which word means what. But a bright collection of strange victories. That's a beautiful name. The fifth song is Locris. So Locris in Greek mythology, the Locrians are the descendants of Locris, the founders of the Greek race. The sixth song is Avernus. The best that I could tell, this is the entrance to hell, or to the underworld. There's actually a lake Avernus, which I guess if you dive to the bottom of the lake, you can enter the underworld that way. The seventh song is named Aludra. So Aludra means the virgin or the maiden. It is also another name for Medina, which is one of the holy cities in Saudi Arabia. Hey, I lived in Saudi Arabia 2 years. The eighth song is Alamut. And Alamut is an eagle's nest, and this is also the name of a ruined mountain fortress in Iran. Pretty cool. It was an impenetrable fort where there are a lot of academic debates and free thought. The ninth song's title meaning eluded me. It's called Kithel, and no matter what spelling variation I used, like changing the Q to QU, or changing the Q to KU, or just K, changing the Y to I, no matter what I came up with, I couldn't find what this title meant. So if anybody knows what this title means, I would love to know. The final song is the longest by far. It's the other songs are maximum 7 minutes. Some of them are only 3 minutes, but this one is 12, and it is called Gehenna. So Gehenna translates to hell. Now, overall, I'm going to say that this was, again, a very enjoyable album, but I am going to read one review that I found online, parts of one review. This would make for an intense and awe-inspiring experience to witness live. However, on record, it can become a little overwhelming. The multi-layered components of many of the songs soar and crash like waves in a storm, but when put together with the other tracks on the albums, the nuances become lost. Attempting to listen to Gehenna all in one sitting is a gargantuan task and means that many of the songs will fail to register individually. The dynamics of each song are simply too similar, with an overall record length that's more of a test of endurance. Individually, each song is stunning, masterfully crafted, and powerful. Put together, they fade into the background and become unnoticeable. It goes on to say that, and I'm actually going to agree and disagree. So I never thought that this was an insurmountable task, and while the songs did sound similar initially, I didn't feel that later on as I was listening to these, and I don't think that it's a gargantuan task to sit and listen to this album. In fact, I found it, even though it's heavy, I found it quite soothing. I will agree that individually each song is stunning, and they would sound really nice to listen to separately. So if you had an instrumental playlist and you slipped one or two of these songs in among the other instrumentals, I think they would sound really great. But I disagree that hearing them all together, they're lost. I don't believe that. So I'm going to agree with parts of this review and disagree with others. Overall, this was a very enjoyable album to listen to. So Guz69, thank you for giving me this instrumental heavy album because I loved it. So now I'm going to go on to the next album, which is by the Jones Sisters, Perpetual Grace Limited soundtrack. So I went ahead and looked this up, and this is actually the soundtrack to a TV show based that is on the Epix channel. And it actually has 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it boasts a stellar cast. So this was a well-reviewed show, and I wish I had Epix because I would like to watch it. Now, this album is excellent. It's 13 songs, and I am going to pepper some of them. I got snippets for about half of the tracks because 13 was too many to include.
The morning of the dreaming and the sundown of the yearly.
Now, what's interesting about this album is there are so many different styles going on. What's confusing about this album to me is they're called the Jones Sisters, but there are so many songs where men sing, and only men sometimes. You're going to hear that in some of the snippets. So I was confused, and then I looked up who the members are, and basically this is an amalgamation. It's kind of like a super group. It's an amalgamation of people from other groups who came together. I'm going to read you what it says. It's a band composed of series creator Stephen Conrad, Guided by Voices Bobby Bear Jr., Iron and Wine guitarist Jim Becker, and the Autumn Defense bassist Brad Jones. Now, that can't be everyone who's involved because there are plenty of female singers on this album. So I'm going to say that I didn't do as much research on this album as I should have, but this is really all about the music. What are you going to hear? You are going to hear very different types of tracks. This is, I guess, what you would call an Americana album. So it's very country, but it's not a country music album. So I guess what I mean by that is there are themes and instrumentation that you would normally associate with country music, but it sounds more indie rock. And like I said, the album is going to vary a lot in style throughout the 13 songs. That might be difficult for some people because when you put on an album, you expect some consistency, unless maybe it's a soundtrack, and this is a soundtrack, actually. Well, I guess if you approach this as a soundtrack, which I didn't, I thought this was a group and they just had a weird sounding title. Perpetual Grace Limited Soundtrack. I thought they were being cute with their title, but it is actually a soundtrack to a TV show. You're going to hear male vocalist. You're going to hear female vocalist, and at least one female vocalist who does 2 songs, and she has a very idiosyncratic voice. But the bus don't run to Stewart anymore, and I don't know how I'm gonna get to work now. She sounds like the character would sound who might be singing having the problems, because since it's a country song, it's about basically like, hey, I don't have enough money, I need to do this, I need to do that, my life is not going well. Oh, but another thing that I want to say about this album is some of the songs make sense, but others, the lyrics don't make sense at all. So many of these songs have grace and beauty, as a lot of Americana songs do. I especially like when there's a solo singer, or what's even better, when there are a couple people singing in harmony. And your old man don't mind. There are songs where they become very rocking and there's a lot of instrumentation. And these songs are fine too, but I personally prefer the ones where there are singers. I'm going to say that this album is really, really good. I don't know if it's for everyone just because of the Americana feel to it, and because I know that's not everyone's thing, but it definitely is mine, and I really appreciated listening to this album and having a chance to get to know it. There are definite songs on this album that I'm going to put into a playlist and that I will keep. Not every song for me is a keeper, but I would not hesitate to put in this album and listen to it in its entirety. Again, I'm going to thank Tcat for the opportunity to hear this album that I would have probably never heard before. Or would have heard in my life. So thank you so much for that. I want to also thank Guz69 because this was an enjoyable experience to have this challenge. I look forward to doing another Triad with the both of you. thank you for watching and thank you for the support. Don't forget that I will link both videos in my description, and please go and watch their videos, their companion videos.